A new musical recently debuted on Broadway that puts the stories of 7 autistic young adults front and center as they face the challenges of leading independent lives. Adapted from a documentary, Jeffrey Brown talks to the creators behind the musical and some of its stars. It's for our Arts and Culture series, Canvas.
Welcome! We are going to do a show for you.
It's a musical with an unusual opening in which the cast members introduce themselves.
The show is based on things that actually happened, but parts have been embellished for dramatic purposes.
7 autistic actors playing 7 autistic characters with a message about their community.
There is this saying, if you've met one autistic person, you have met one autistic person. You are now meeting 7 autistic people.
It's nice to have that little connection with the audience at first and just be like, this is what's going on.
We're also establishing that this is a place where neurodivergence is welcome and accepted.
22-year-old Madison Kopech and 27-year-old Imani Russell, both with autism, are 2 of the stars of How to Dance in Ohio.
The experience of being autistic is so different from person to person. And you see that in the show, and people connect with that in the audience. But it is really important to understand that, like, whatever ideas that people might have going into the show about what it means to be autistic, we're here to be like, that's one idea. That's one example.
When I'm out, I don't talk much. I have trouble making facial expressions. I mean, it's not that I don't care about what you're saying. Sometimes I don't.
One common thread here, the challenges of navigating daily life and making social connections. Especially as they strive to be more independent as young adults. Madison Kopech, who was diagnosed with autism at age 17, portrays Meredith, who often turns to facts to avoid emotions and potentially disturbing personal contact. This focus on social interaction and the difficulties of that.
Yes.
That you're familiar with.
Yes, I'm very familiar with difficult social interactions. I wish I could be like Meredith sometimes, where she just kind of says, no thanks, and leaves. and I do to a point, but also I think the journey she goes on is really important because she tends to like block herself out from having any sort of like interactions because she's afraid.
A lot of times people can't read my emotions because I don't put any expressions into my face.
I'm kind of
The characters and story are based on a 2015 HBO documentary of the same name by director Alexandra Shiva, which captured a real-life counseling clinic for teens and young adults with autism in Columbus, Ohio, as they prepared to hold a spring formal dance. For composer Jacob Yandera, himself from Ohio and with a younger sibling with autism, turning it into a musical was deeply personal.
My sister Maria has been a part of this since the beginning. I mean, she was the first person I told about, like, there's this documentary, I think it's a musical, and we watched it together, because it was right around when I was home for the holidays. And we immediately cried, and she was like, Jacob, you know, now the world can understand what it's like to be me, you know? That's what I hope, and it's been the most beautiful gift, the show, and getting emotional thinking about it. You know?
When she said that, you thought, I've got to make this
musical.
musical.
I have to make this, yeah, I have to make this.
For director Sammy Canold, who also has an autistic sibling, making accommodations for the autistic actors and some members of the larger team meant adjusting her role.
The main piece of feedback in terms of direction that I got from mostly our autistic performers was that what they wanted from me was very clear and very specific direction. Not, you know, can you go over there by the door? Can you go to 8 and turn left and then go to 10? So very, very specific. And that
makes it easier for them to follow the script.
The script,
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that absolutely, you know, is an extra level of work and preparation on my end, but it's work and preparation that I'm thrilled to do because it allows our performers to do their best work.
moving forward, time keeps.
In fact, the 2 actors told us that acting and following a script are plenty familiar to them. It's how they and many autistic people get through even the most routine interactions.
Even like with friends being like, okay, I gotta practice what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna make up a little script before I go hang out with people, just so I have something prepared.
People would always ask, how can you perform in front of this huge crowd of people and then be scared to perform in front of 3 family members when asked?
Or even go to the store.
Or
and
go to,
have
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and know how to order. And
Because I know what I'm doing when I go on the stage, mostly. I know this character that I'm playing, and even when it does come down to a little bit of improv, which I've gotten more comfortable with over the years, like, I've still got this character, so I have a basis for how she would react in certain situations.
And it's not like we don't know how to adapt. We've had to adapt for our entire lives.
Right.
The world is not necessarily built for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Also, I just think that I'm like, theater brings us joy. I don't like going to the store. It doesn't bring me any joy.
That's true. Yeah.
But I love to perform.
for this show, accommodations are also made for the audience, with the availability of aids and cool-down spaces for those who need to step away due to sensory sensitivities.
Check mirror signal, buckle up, keep hands at 10 and 2.
Imani Russell hopes How to Dance in Ohio not only helps people in the autistic community feel represented, but also fuels change in theater inclusivity more broadly.
We're really doing something that is connecting with people who are coming and being like, I never thought that I could do this. And seeing the 7 of you on stage is giving me hope that I can do this. That theater, which already feels like a home to a lot of autistic people, but that they can actually do it, which feels really, really important to me.
In that sense, says director Sammy Canold, this is entertainment plus, also a form of advocacy.
What's important is that I think when people hear the word advocacy, they think maybe people picketing on the street or like, you know, someone lecturing at you about what you should care about. And I think that what I love about art like this is that if you come into it off the street and you know nothing about it, you're probably not going to leave and say, I just saw advocacy, right? But you are going to leave with a better understanding of a community that you may not have had an understanding of before. Or if you are a member of that community, you may leave feeling you've seen yourself on stage.
Building momentum, the very beginning, building momentum.
How to Dance in Ohio is now on Broadway with an open-ended run. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Jeffrey Brown in New York.
It's the only way how.
Great to see those stories on a big, joy-filled stage.